Like,
what?
hat on my head for the first time.
It's so hot. It's so hot out here.
Got to keep moving.
Well, we're going to be sitting here for a while, and we've got all day long Robert Griffin III, Swagoo, Ryan Clark. I'm Scott Van Pelt.
Good.
4 games to talk about. The focus is on this one. You're trying to do NFL films like back in the day when you could see your breath. First thoughts, Robert, on this day, this game, the evolution of the presumptive MVP, Lamar Jackson, the guy you spent a lot of time with.
Cold player?
I'm cold. It's hot out here, but I'm cold.
There you go. How the evolution of this young man from the time you've been with him until this year, what do you see that's notable?
Yeah, I think the first thing is that the Ravens subscribed to HBO and decided to help a brother out, okay? They gave Lamar Jackson a 7-course meal of playmakers around him and brought in an offensive coordinator in Todd Monken that allows him to have complete control at the line of scrimmage. When I was in Baltimore, we called it Lamar ball. He goes out there, he's free-flowing, right? He's getting it done by any means necessary when it comes to running the football or throwing the football. But, Scott, the biggest place that he's evolved is his leadership. When I was in Baltimore, he sometimes struggled with speaking up vocally. Okay. But his secret sauce was fun. He's a very fun guy. He's a goofy guy. Likes to make everything light, and it breaks up the monotony in the season when you have day after day after day. That's the same exact thing. But now when it's time to step up and say something, Lamar is doing that. Yeah. The Lamar Jackson you see today is the Lamar Jackson that we all thought was going to be there from the second he stepped foot in Baltimore. They have empowered him, and now we are all getting the benefit of what he's doing on the football field.
Yeah, for a number of years, I talked about the evolution of this offense, right? It was under Greg Roman. It was very Lamar-centric, very run-centric, a lot of condensed formations and all of that. And you wanted to see him kind of get back to what he did at the University of Louisville, where he had a tremendous amount of options. He had guys on the outside that could make plays for him. And now this field, and that's what we talked about before the season, RC, the field has now opened up to 53 1/3 for Lamar Jackson, as opposed to when you used to be able to get into a phone booth and play against the Baltimore Ravens, which I thought limited what he could do. Zay Flowers on the outside, Odell Beckham Jr., Isaiah Likely has stepped up, and they still have an identity of being a physical run team. Todd Monken was able to manage to keep that. Now I feel like this is a whole team with an opportunity to win a Super Bowl because they can play a number of ways as opposed to the one-dimensional type that they were a few years back.
And I think when you look at what this offense has evolved into, it's evolved into a family. And you mentioned some of Lamar Jackson's ways of leadership.
Yes.
Another thing about being a leader is you can't lead if no one's willing to follow. If guys aren't willing to play for you. And you think about an Odell Beckham Jr. that wanted to have that huge comeback year, show everyone that he was still the same player. That has never really materialized for him, but he hasn't been a cancer in the locker room. I talked to Zay Flowers. He's tutored and mentored him. You look at a guy like Rashad Bateman, a Nelson Aguilar. All of these people want to step up and get the football, but they've given in to the greater good of doing whatever it takes to win for a team. You don't do that unless your leader is someone you want to follow and you want to play with and for. And Lamar Jackson has shown us he's that sort of person in that position.
And they can also lean on the defense, something we will clearly be talking about throughout our time leading up to this game. You're talking about the very best in the National Football League. Let's rewind the tape about 132 days, by my estimation, about 55 degrees warmer. It was week 1.
It looks so sunny.
It was C.J. Stroud. The video just looks different. You can tell it's hot. You can feel, you know what I'm saying? You can feel like it's hot. This was the start of 60 sacks this season. There's Patrick Queen getting to the quarterback. Zay Flowers, what a rookie campaign for this youngster. They talked about it in camp. That doesn't always materialize. It has, and he's gotten only better. A shout to J.K. Dobbins, who got injured in this game, hurt the Achilles, but he scored there. We thought his season might be great, unfortunately derailed by injuries. There's a Justice Hill touchdown, and it made it 15-6. It's 25-9. Houston was hanging around, and there's another sack. It's Ardarius Washington who gets home. 5 sacks in this game, on the way again to 60 this season for the Baltimore defense. Now, we talk evolution in Baltimore. Maybe it's a little more subtle, right? There's levels to this. In the case of C.J. Stroud, a rookie quarterback, that was his first game. And I don't know who after that would have thought we'd be here today after a victory in the playoffs, but we are. You saw things, though, Ryan, even in that loss the first day. The seeds were planted that are growing into what we're seeing before our eyes. What did you see?
I mean, C.J. Stroud was 13 for 16 on third down in a game that he was sacked 5 times. And he never let the pressure get to him. He never was sped up in his processing, right, or in his delivery. And I think he showed right there that he was the right person for the position. And now we've seen the other things around C.J. Stroud evolve. We've seen a quarterback pick up the level of play of those around him. When we talk about the Josh Allens, we talk about the Patrick Mahomes, obviously the Lamar Jacksons, Matthew Stafford, we speak of their ability to raise the level of play of the other people in the locker room. And from that day on, we've seen C.J. Stroud do that.
Yeah, 100%. And Ryan, to your point, when it comes to C.J. Stroud, it's also the genius of DeMeco Ryans.
Yeah.
Right? He knows that a quarterback's best friend, especially a young quarterback, is a great defense. And what he did was he went and he drafted Will Anderson, a guy that Nick Saban said is the hardest working guy on that Alabama team, and he made him the centerpiece of that defense. Then he went and got an offensive coordinator in Bobby Slowick, who isn't going to make C.J. Stroud have to make 30 special throws a game. Right? He's gonna dial it up and give him some special screens, give him the easy free access throws, move the pocket. And what C.J. Stroud has done is he's made everybody in that locker room believe. You get sacked 5 times against the Baltimore Ravens and you still have a chance, opportunity to win and play the way that he did. Everybody in that locker room believes in this young man, and I think that's why they're where they're at.
I think the thing that stands out about me with the Houston Texans is you go back to the draft, they drafted winners. You think about, obviously, C.J. Stroud. You think about Will Anderson. You think about Derek Stingley Jr. a year previous. They drafted winners. That was a part of the DNA that they wanted in this organization and franchise, and now DeMeco has been able to bring that out of all of these guys.
And we've talked throughout the year, and we've seen it grow, about a young man leading grown men. He is a man of enormous faith. He's a man of enormous substance. He's been through it, and, I mean, I don't know how, unless you're a Baltimore Ravens fan, and even if you are, I don't know how you could do anything but root for C.J. Stroud. Do you know what I'm saying?
Real one.
I agree.
And it's just getting started for him. And our show's just getting started. We got you covered with reports from both sides. Lisa Salters on the Ravens, Laura Rutledge on the Texans. And Laura, let's start with you. We've talked about how Houston has evolved from where they were week 1. As they look back on that tape, what do they take out of it? What's valuable about that game?
Yeah, Scott, DeMeco Ryans said this game being week 1, even though it was a loss, is actually a real help for them because they learned a lot about how good they would actually be. It was the first indicator that they could make a run and get into the playoffs, which seems kind of funny now, just so many days later, as you guys mentioned. But a lot of it was about building the confidence and knowing that their defense, according to Ryans, really played well against Lamar Jackson, even being close at halftime. He said, now we know how to make that a win this time around. They also dealt with the noise, this atmosphere, this environment. He said no one should be nervous today because we've seen it before. C.J. Stroud also told us he had communication issues in this game. Couldn't hear what the coaches were trying to tell him about 20 times. They've rectified a lot of that. That shouldn't be an issue either. And one of the things about Stroud, as you guys have so well discussed, is he is the leader of this team. Nico Collins telling me that he is the total package. It's not just the play on the field, but it's the faith that he gives them in his ability throughout the team. It's electric. It's spread through all of them, and it's a reason why they feel very confident today. Let's go to Lisa.